Welcome to a special edition of Captain Morgan's channel. And do I have a special treat for you today? I cannot wait for you guys to see this interview. About a week ago, I went to see VOLA for the second time since I've learned about them because of this channel. This channel, if this is your first time here, we do lots of music reactions mostly, but we also have relationship videos on here. My background's in counseling, so we do counseling kind of videos as well. And also some self-reactions where you can see me grow up as a dancer. I learned drums, and when I learned some music, some high school footage of me playing bass, which is terribly embarrassing. But hopefully you can join us when we have live streams, which is typically on Saturdays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have a song or just want to chat about progressive music and any style of music that we can get on the channel, please turn in some songs for us to react to or just join the conversation, and let's discover new music together. That's how I discovered Mr. Adam JANZI. If you have not heard that name, you're going to hear it very much in the future because in my opinion, he is the new GOAT of drumming in this genre of music, and you'll get to see us talk about that together in this interview. So when he came, before we get into this interview, I want to clarify that I am not a professional when it comes to this kind of thing. This is my first interview of somebody of a name. And so I just took my little camera. I didn't have an extra microphone that would pick up better that you see a lot of these podcasters have. Or these vlogs, they put this little microphone here. I didn't have anything like that. I thought it would just be set up and it would pick up the sound enough, but we actually met in his tour bus and there was like a humming in the background, so I tried to do the best that I could by taking my editing software and kind of denoising everything or trying to take out the background humming, but it makes the interview sound very bad as far as the audio is concerned. So hopefully you guys can get past that and you can hear what we had to talk about. It's about a 45-minute interview with Adam. I do want to say, Adam, if you watch this, thanks again for the time that you spent and the answers that you gave to what I think are a good mix of technical questions as well as personal questions, and how Adam approaches the music that he plays with VOLA, as well as the other bands and projects that you're going to get to hear about in this interview. So I don't want to talk too much, but hopefully you guys enjoy this, and see you guys on the channel and some reviews that we do, some reactions that you may turn in, and hopefully you enjoy this interview with Adam. And it was an absolutely bomb, awesome concert. Rocked out. I think my neck hurt a little bit afterwards from banging my head so much. I think that VOLA is one of the best up-and-coming bands that we have in the globe today. So if you guys have not checked it out, all of the videos that I use in here, I want to say, are in the description. So if you have not checked them out, whether it's Adam's personal drum videos or VOLA's official videos, I do not have copyright to those. So I tried to make them very small in respect to the copyright, as well as VOLA and Adam themselves. But I have put in the description all the videos to everything I use in this interview for you to go check out and click on yourself. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. All right, so we are here with Adam JANZI of VOLA and many other projects. So I just got the chance to have a lucky meeting with him before the concert, because tonight we're going to rock out with VOLA. So really excited about this. I did want to start with kind of like 3 sections as we go through this. If you could, for the people that may not know, you started, at least it says online, that you started at 13 years old drumming. So kind of start with like your background of what got you into drumming.
Yeah, that's right. 13, 14 was when I started playing drums. It was Korn, Slipknot, Metallica. Okay. That was where I started out. And I was just playing along to their songs.
Okay.
Learning Here to Stay on pillows, just jamming along to their stuff. And that's basically how I learned most of what I do. Just playing along to music that I like, just listening to it, trying to follow and figuring it out along the way.
Was there anything like how did you land on drums? Did you see somebody play drums and you're like, oh, I want to do that?
That's actually a funny story. I started out with guitar.
Okay.
I played like half a year, but I could play like like Smoke on the Water barely.
Okay.
I was like, that's not for me. Then I was thinking about picking up another instrument. And I thought fielding from Korn was really cool, the bass. So I was thinking about bass, but then in school we had like a music class, and we were allowed to try out drums. We were taught like the simple 4/4 group, and everyone got to try to play the group on the drum kit. Or that was how it was supposed to be, but class ended before I got a chance to try. So I was a bit sad walking home with a friend, and he was like, "It's okay. I think it's too difficult for you anyway." And I was like, "Okay,
I'm gonna see it for wrong."
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, here I am.
Very cool. Cool. So, you know, you're obviously a part of at least different projects, and I think it was last year that you came out with. I don't want to say it wrong. Is it Jorum?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it correctly?
Yodel.
Yodel. Okay. See, I knew I was going to say it wrong because it was a different language. So, you know, when you go off into this is more of your solo stuff, and since you said you started with guitar a little bit and bass, this kind of makes sense. How do you feel like that project went, and what's the update on that? Like, where are you at with that?
Yeah, that's just purely my own stuff, making music just the way I want it, without any input from the outside, without any expectations, just like pure musical adventure. And it has been going on for quite a few years, but now I finally decided to actually just finish the stuff and get it out there. So I have other songs on the way as well, in the same kind of style. So it's just an emotional yeah, exactly. Because it's really nice to play music together with others, but there's always compromises, and you always work together with others. Like, that's part of the magic of it. But it's very nice also to just do your own thing, just fully explore your own ideas without any other
Influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, all right, do you have plans in the future of trying to have that reproduced and go out, and if people dig it and they keep growing, that you would actually go out on your own? And obviously you would have to hire somebody unless you can do drums and guitar at the same time, which some people can, I guess, but would you want that? Like, if that's a possibility?
It would be fun, for sure, if that would happen. Right now I'm just like, I just want to kind of create that universe and see where it lands, but if there are opportunities for that, I would be very happy to toss that live.
Okay, and so outside of, we'll get to VOLA here in a
Yeah.
second, but there's also other side projects you're doing.
Yes.
There was a couple that I saw, one in particular.
Yeah, pop art, yeah, dotter.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to attempt to say that. So.
It means daughter in Swedish.
Oh, okay.
She's a pop artist, so I'm not part of the songwriting there. I'm just like the hired drummer for her live shows. So whenever she plays live, I'm there playing drums. Except for when I'm out with VOLA. Like now she has a tour in Sweden. I'm here.
So you had to pick, or do they get somebody else to fill in while you're not there?
Yeah, they get another drummer to fill in while I'm not there.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a fun thing. But it's very poppy pop.
Okay. Straightforward 4/4 kind of stuff.
Yeah, it can be a bit of tricky grooves because it's like modern pop. So there's a lot of some trap hi hats, some weird stuff going on, and a lot of that music is written like programmed. So you will have stuff where it's like you need 3 arms to play something. So you kind of have to figure that out. But it's a lot of fun, and it's very good people. And yeah, she's been in Eurovision a few times, or the Swedish Eurovision, which is a very big thing in Sweden. And her boyfriend is the guy I mentioned earlier, the songwriter who writes.
He does all the stuff.
He's part of her songwriting as well. She writes her songs also, but he's the one who's been to Korea and done the Korean songwriting and stuff like that. So that's like that whole world that I have a small toe in.
Yeah, dipping your toes in different things. So would you say your time in VOLA is like your biggest project, or how would you compare that to the other projects you do? Would you say they're equal, or this is kind of like a main focus for you at the moment?
I think among those other things, VOLA and my solo stuff, it's the stuff that takes up most of my time.
Okay.
Because that's kind of where I make my living. So with my solo stuff, it's not only like my own music, but also I include in that session work, where other bands and musicians just call me and say, "Hey, we need drums in the song," and then I record for them.
And a lot of that you don't have to be there for, right? You can just upload it, play it, and send it to them.
Exactly. So it can be sometimes people from the US, sometimes people from Denmark, from Germany, Poland, whatever. Just record in my studio and send them the tracks.
So if you don't mind, that just made me think of a question.
Yeah.
Has there been anything that was sent to you that were like, what the hell is this? Like, or you're like, I don't really enjoy this, but because they're paying me and I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to mention it by name, but is there something in your mind where you're like, this is weird, not for me, but let's do it?
Yeah. There's been some stuff where I find it weird because I don't understand it. But like it's still well made and I respect it. It's just like not at all my cup of tea. So there's been some stuff like that, but of course still I do my best and I try to put my touch on it and I try to be very respectful about the music. But we all have our different tastes, so of course I'm not gonna love every music that I hear, right? But I'm trying to keep my mind open and just see where they're coming from and try to adapt to that. I haven't had any really bad experiences. I know some friends that do session work that have had bad experiences.
Meaning like the song or like the people they've worked with
people.
or not?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, like for example recording vocals for someone and then not having any feedback and then like the day before it's released you hear that they changed the pitch of the song but not the pitch of your vocals. So it sounds like you cannot sing.
Thanks.
So that's something which is really not nice because you sang it well, sang it perfectly, and then they just change the pitch of the song, so everything clashes. And that's not a nice thing to do because it puts you in a bad light.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's not deserved. So I know some friends that have been through that, for example. But in
You
my
haven't
case,
had that experience.
No,
Thank
in
God.
my case it's been only good stuff so far.
So has that made you kind of, because I think by watching your friends have to go through that maybe when you have something in the future, double check it before they release it, or do you have like a, hey, I'm cool with doing this, but this is some things that I require?
Yeah, exactly. I have, with some songs, I have that kind of demand that I need to kind of hear it first. Especially if it's something that will, be put out commercially, right? Because that reflects on my CV. I mean, if it sounds like shit because they just chose to edit it crazily and weirdly, then I will, object to that. But if it's something, someone just wants to make a song for the fun of it, it's not going to be a commercial thing, and then they want to mess around with the tracks that I sent. I don't care about that. That's totally up to them. But when it's something that can reflect poorly on me, because usually the tracks that I send, there's no need to edit them. Like, they're good, ready to go. Just mix them and that's it. But some people prefer to still edit and kind of make it sound perfect, which is not at all my style. But if they know what they're doing, then it can still sound like, okay, we hear that it's processed, but it sounds good. If they don't know what they're doing, then it can sound like a mess. And you don't want someone to ruin your takes with that edit. That's something to keep an eye on.
Alright. So this is a good segue into VOLA now. So, I'm curious, like, how did that come about? How did you guys, because, you're you're considered a Danish Swedish
Yeah.
man, right? So how did this mix happen? How did you meet? And how did it kind of form into what it is today?
Facebook. That's how we met.
Wow.
Yeah. The band has existed like since 2007, I think. It's a long time. And they had a Danish drummer, and he left in like 2015, maybe something like that, or 16. I don't know. And then they started looking for a drummer fit. So they looked in Denmark first,
Okay.
and they found some drummers, but didn't quite, were great drummers, just didn't, fit the style fully. So then they started to look outside of Denmark, Scandinavia, and they posted in like a Swedish Facebook group for drummers, just like, hey, we're VOLA, we need a drummer, send an email, blah blah blah, and there's like one like on that post, that's it. And that's from one of the other band members, I think. So no one reacted. But I saw it and I was like, okay.
Hell yeah.
Did a cover of Straight as Skies and sent it in, and then it worked out.
So they called you back and said, like, we want you to do a full audition? Like, was there a whole process? Or was it like, you heard one thing and you're like, you're in?
It was kind of like an audition. They had some summer shows, and they said, I think it was 5 shows. They said, hey, play these shows with us, and then we can see, and we'll rehearse. And I also went to Denmark one night just to hang with them, just to meet them and see
how your personalities meshed.
Yeah, exactly. But then already after the first show was a festival in Germany. They said basically, let's sign the papers if you want to.
So how does, we'll get to that in a second. I guess I want to know, this was probably your first big gig. Would you call it your biggest gig?
Yeah.
So on that first night, can you explain like how you focus? I thought about if I was a drummer and ever made it big. Because I played concert in Korea. I had a Korean band.
Oh, cool.
And we just played mostly funk and soul kind of stuff because I love playing that. But I wondered if I ever was big or something like that, and I had my first show, how scared I'd be, the energy I would feel. So can you describe that first time when the curtains opened or when the lights went on and you were with VOLA that first time?
It really feels like just jumping in the water and you have no idea what temperature it is.
Just like sink or swim kind of thing?
Exactly. But it's a very refreshing feeling because you just kind of have to go for it. You have these fears that are in the way and you just kind of push through them. And you can be scared and nervous, which I was, but so what, basically. I used to have this kind of saying that I would only say to myself, just like, I can be as scared as I want, like, it can even make me cry, but I'm still gonna do it. Even if I'm shaking, I'm still gonna do it. You don't have to be fully like in a good zone to go ahead with those things. You just kind of acknowledge that you're stressed or scared or whatever it is, but you still go ahead with it. So that was the idea. And I think the scariest thing wasn't the playing that first show. It was more the meeting them, the social part. Like that stuff has been more difficult for me in any situation than playing music. Like I'm a bit of a shy, introverted person, so that was a big thing to tackle. But it was fun. It was cool. There were awesome people, and we were just sitting in the singer's home at that time and listening to the new songs at that time that turned out to be the album of Lost in the Distant Crowd. So listening to some demos, getting a feel for where they were at, drinking some beers, and then early morning flight back home. That was fun. But it was scary, but I just had to kind of go into it. And I think it was there was some luck behind some unfortunate stuff that kind of led me to dare to go ahead with it. Because I was hesitating a bit about contacting them because of these fears. But yeah, a lot of stuff had happened that year, like in the span of a few months, everything was so it was like, okay, that was the time to kind of just get out there and just try to figure stuff out. And I'm very happy that I took that step.
That's great, and we are too. So that would be great. This is another good segue into like specifically with your parts. So you did kind of mention some of your influences. It sounds like Joey Jordison, maybe Metallica Lars. Is there anybody in particular that like you would call out as an influence of the past that really kind of? I know maybe that's where you started, but the thing that I said, I'm going to say it again. This is the new GOAT of drumming right now. This is the new GOAT, I'm telling you. And the reason why I say that is, so my favorite band has always been Dream Theater since I was in '94. I started listening to them. Mike Portnoy, obviously, is one of my favorite drummers. Obviously, there's that battle between Mike Mancini and Mike Portnoy, right? And I like them both. I think they're both incredible. I'm more of a, like, I love technicality, but technicality is one part. The most important part to me, and the reason why I love Mike Portnoy, is that his parts that he created, mostly back then, maybe not so much now, but back then, were very different, and they like matched the music, so they were creative yet still in the groove, and it didn't sound like a metronome as much. And I feel like you are the GOAT that's bringing that kind of to a different area. So, and as an example of that, which is I want you to kind of maybe break it down a little bit, is 24 Light Years, right? Right? You have a 4/4 song, but as soon as I listen to it and it starts, I'm like, is this a fucking 4/4? Because your beat makes the linear like compilation of it very like, where is one? Where is? But it's not complicated for the sake of being complicated. It delivers a iconic drum beat, and I think one thing that's important I also talk about in all his instructional videos was if he did something in 7/8, maybe he would do like a 4/3 combination and then like a 3/3/1 combination, and each time that riff would progress, he would just maybe go from the hi-hat to a stacks. And just kind of to mode it a little bit. And what I find interesting about 24 Light Years is it's not until after the second chorus that you actually just play straight down. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. That's what makes your music and your, in my opinion, the new GOAT. Because Ruby Pool is another example of how you do that, where I'm just like, you're creating sophistication, but it's creative and fits the groove perfectly, like perfectly. So can you tell me how, like for that song, or it doesn't have to be that song, but how do you design your parts to come up with that? Because I would say that's uniquely you. Like I've heard other drummers, but that's a very Adam JANZI thing that I think is very different than even, but yours are unique for sure. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
that's really nice of you. Thank you.
Like, do you sit down and like go, okay, I'm going to do this, or do you just naturally feel it?
It's a mix of that. The thing that I usually talk about when I have drum lessons is this idea of saying things with the drums. And we've all heard musicians talk about, it's a language where I'm speaking with the guitar or whatever.
Right.
We're like, okay, but how? Like, sure, it's a language, sure you're speaking, but if I'm a drummer, how do I say, get out of here? Or how do I say, hey, like, I cannot. So we already there we begin to think very literally. But the thing we often miss out on is that the language of music is an emotional language. We transmit emotions without words. And the words that we have for different emotions are very rudimentary. Anger, happiness, fear, whatever. But there are so many nuances there. And what we can explore with music is those very, very specific nuances that are almost unique to ourselves, and transmit them. It's like when you hear a song and it just takes you to a place, you cannot point it out, you cannot explain it, but there's something about the way the light hits a tree, or like very specific things. But that song just manages to nail that. And as musicians, we want to kind of have some sort of control over that, so that when you pass that tree and that light shines and just hits you emotionally, you want to transform that into music. And the way that I've been doing that is find a sort of translator, which in my experiences has turned out to be descriptions of scenarios or situations combined with certain words.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you are a pop artist, a Korean pop artist, and she says, yes, exactly. And she says, okay, I have a song, I want you to play drums for me. It's already written. This is how the song goes, this is how the drums go. You play these exact hits. Hi-hat, snare, and kick. So you're playing a 4/4 groove. You're like, okay, fair enough, simple. You finish the song, you send over the tracks. All right, that's it. And then she calls you back and she says, cool, but I have an issue with it. And you think, well, you told me exactly what to play. What issue? Then it turns out the song is about being chased in the forest by a monster. And you're like, okay, well, but this is a 4/4 groove. It's not a blast beat.
Right.
Like, you want to be chased, you give me a blast beat.
Great.
No, 4/4. Hi-hat closed. Kick, snare. Well, what can you do in order to add to that scenario? So then you think, okay, being chased in the forest, what do we have? We have stress, right? Because if it's from the perspective of the person running away, there's stress. They hear footsteps behind them getting faster and closer, and you're just sprinting. And it's the forest. What do you have in the forest? You have leaves, you have grass. Those are pretty dry sounds. So already you have stress, and you have dry sounds. And if you have a hi-hat, we all know that we can play so many different ways. We can do... That doesn't sound very stressful. That sounds pretty relaxed. I'm pretty relaxed when I play that.
Sit in the groove, yeah.
If you want to do that, but more stressful, we do this kind of thing. Very simple, but already it just adds a touch of stress to the song. So then you might think, okay, well, just a little bit of stress on the hi-hat doesn't explain the full picture. But that's where everything else comes in. And then you switch to a dry hi-hat. So you have a dry hi-hat that just chugs along, that kind of reminds you of these footsteps behind you, just kind of catching up, or almost catching up with you. So then you've covered that part. Then the lyrics maybe sing about something else, and the guitar kind of highlights something else. So you all kind of paint this picture together. But there we've pinpointed a few very important elements to the whole song and to the story of the song. And we've done our part to add to it with the stress, the motion, and the dry kind of sounds taking us to the forest. And this example is a very specific one, which I use just to explain this idea. But when it comes to songs like 24 Light Years, that process has taken place when coming up with those drums. Because that drum group was the first thing that was created for the song. So it all started with the drum group. And I sat down and just figured it out on the spot through this kind of process. But less specific, because it's more, it's not a groove where we can say, okay, this is clearly like, AC/DC Thunderstruck. Like, it sounds like thunder. Like, it's not that specific, but there is something, or I would say it's maybe specific in a different way. It's not as clearly recognizable as the sound of thunder, but it is something where we're taken into the universe only with with the groove, and everything else on top joins in that kind of adventure. So we have the kick drum and the snare, which are kind of grounded, but then we have these splash hi-hat patterns kind of sparkling on top. So the idea or the feeling that I had in mind when going for that groove was something which moves, but not in a very obvious way. So it feels a bit like this, but that kind of sometimes feels like it's on the ground and sometimes just kind of floating, and that kind of mix of that. So I wasn't like writing this down and sitting there and thinking. That's what I would do at first when I would like want to learn this approach, but then after a while it becomes intuitive. So then you just feel right away that you want it to float a bit, and because you've learned the language of your instrument, then you know which elements or which patterns and which way to play can give a feeling of floating or give a feeling of something being grounded. So it happened like very rapidly, these decisions. So I was just playing around with the groove and then discovering and feeling like, okay, float a bit more. No, that's a bit too much. Okay, it's a bit too intensely grounded, or that's a bit too soft, etc., etc. And when you have this understanding of your instrument and this approach of seeing it as a emotional language, then it becomes much more fun to write songs. Then it's not just about what's cool, like that film sounds awesome, or that riff is so heavy, right? But then it's like you can really use simple stuff or complicated stuff, but with the intention of explaining something, and you don't have to worry that something is too simple or too complicated when it just hits the spot of exactly what you want to say. So a lot of musicians have this thing where it's difficult to play something simple because we don't feel legitimate enough to do it. I feel like, okay, I cannot just do a four hits on the snare fill. I have to do a little flashy thing.
Right.
But if you just want to show that thing purely, and you know that will highlight exactly what you want to say properly, well then there is no issue in doing that. And I feel like I've settled into this now. With VOLA, I feel very comfortable with that. When it needs something complicated, I can dish that out. But when it doesn't, I can just stay on what's needed and feel comfortable in that, and even more invest in that. I talk a lot about, as a final example, I talk a lot about movies as well, to compare this whole thing. Like, imagine if you're on the set of Lord of the Rings and you're supposed to be just one of the Uruk-hai, or one of the orcs, one of the bad guys. Like, your screen time is 1 second. Well, you don't have to have a full speech ready and be like fully. You don't need to practice combat for 12 months prior to that. You just need to do that part, and you will do that with confidence, and that's it. And you're going to be one cog in the wheel. But also, you will know that you're in Lord of the Rings, so you're not going to have your smartphone up. You're not going to have headphones in the shot. Gandalf is not going to go around with a lightsaber. You know that, okay, you have a shield, you have a sword. You're going to, the makeup department is going to make it look like, there are no dentists in that world. So your teeth are going to look rotten. And same thing goes for music. So that's kind of where I'm getting at. That if we have that song about being chased in the forest, we're not going to throw in some nice flashy jazz that brings up some warm lounge feelings. We're not going to bring in some industrial mechanical beats. No, we're going to stick to that picture. Gimli's not going to have a Ferrari. He's going to walk in there with his axe. Right? So that kind of wraps or sums up the whole vision that I have when writing songs in general. whether it's with or without VOLA, just trying to really grasp the big picture, stick to that. And where your own personality comes in, it's these specific things, like you want to make it more floaty. Well, for you it's different than it's for me. For someone else it's different. You want to make it heavier. Well, maybe someone has, like, the things he has lived allows him to do extremely, like, dark and heavy grooves that really you feel like your feet are stuck to the ground. Well, you live other stuff, so the way you do that is going to manifest itself different. So that's the cool thing of when you get to explore these topics through your own lens. It becomes unique automatically. That's a lengthy,
that's
answer.
great. It's Music 102, people. So a couple more questions and we can wrap it up. So if you feel comfortable saying this, like, I know as a drummer, when I had songs that I played, there's just songs that I enjoyed playing more than other songs, just because for whatever reason, just like the crowd likes hearing other songs more than other songs.
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing certain songs more than other songs. It didn't mean I hated the other songs. I just enjoyed this one more.
Yeah.
Is there any VOLA catalog that when you're on stage tonight, you're just like fucking rocking out, you're like ready to go? Because something about the song gets you juiced.
Yes. It does change. So it's not like this all the time, but these days, Bleed Out is definitely one that I'm
I'm
really
just telling her
into.
that.
Yeah.
I love Bleed Out. I love it.
Cool.
So I'll be rocking tonight when you
Yeah,
play.
nice. Yeah, that one, it just really grabs me a bit extra. I do also really enjoy We Will Rock This Band. It's typically not a kind of atmosphere that I gravitate towards, but maybe that's what makes it so interesting to me. Maybe that's why it draws me. But there's something very light about it that I really enjoy. But yeah, like you say, I do enjoy playing all of them, but those two are like a bit
More
extra.
Awesome. Well, a couple non-serious questions, I guess. So this being your third time this year, as a touring band, and this is something that you're doing, do you guys try to get out when you're in a different city, or is it just you're just so locked in that you get there, get ready, and then that's you gotta play?
We try to get out. Depends on the city, the area, of course. Sometimes you're finished after the show, or you have time during the day, and you just feel like, okay, I don't want to go anywhere here. Like, it feels a bit dangerous. Both here in the US and in Europe, there's some areas, especially when there's smaller venues. Sometimes they end up in those kind of areas. So we might not get out as much, but usually the biggest issue is the time. It's just not that much time to get out. If the venue is located in a good spot, then you can explore a little bit. But yeah, during show days, usually we just go out for food, and then we're sound checking, playing the show, packing down, going to bed. Off days, when we don't have any shows, that's a different thing.
Do you guys purposely schedule those in, or is it just how the schedule works?
It's basically just how the schedule works. Sometimes you have travel days where you're just in the bus because you have a long travel, so you need an extra day just to make it. But sometimes, like the last tour we did in November in Europe, we had a few days where the driver needs a break, for example, or the booking agent couldn't get a show on that day, so arrives on the day after instead. So then it's like, okay, well, where do we chill for the day? We're in Prague. Okay, well, let's enjoy Prague. Or Barcelona, whatever. That's the moments where you really can enjoy.
Makes sense.
We have a few days like that on this tour, I think. I don't know exactly where we will be, but hopefully it will be like a gas station in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully it will be something.
Right.
Because that has happened sometimes where there is nothing around.
Just a gas station.
Yeah.
One
Shitty
light.
subway, and you're just like, oh.
So another question too. I think I might know the answer to this already, but I know other bands have talked about when they play in different continents or whatever it may be, that there's just certain fan groups that are just way more fun to play for and just more crazy. Brazil tends to be like a big one for people. So I'm assuming in Denmark it's probably the most crazy fans you guys have. Is that not true? So where's the most fun place to play where you get like animal kind of crowds?
Basically, if you're in Europe, South, Spain, Italy, like they are much more intense, which is nice. And same thing goes for America. If you go to the south, it gets more crazy. Like Chile is insane.
Really?
But I would say this: like all fans are appreciative. It's just that in warmer countries they just show it in such a different way.
Right.
Yeah, like in Italy they're queuing like outside. They're waiting outside the bus looking for you. In Sweden or Denmark, you can walk past and they wave a little bit and they're watching the show like this. While
Yeah, that's really funny. We're speaking of Japan. In Japan, like I've seen several concerts where they're just in suits. You know what I mean? They're in suits and they're just like watching as if nothing's going on, like they're watching a TV show. So it's very interesting.
That's funny. I would say, Denmark and Sweden, they're more similar to Japan.
Okay. Very interesting.
Definitely. Yeah. But it's fun in its own way. It's like calm. It's relaxed. You don't worry too much. In Chile, for example, if I throw out a drumstick in the crowd, I'm worried someone's gonna get hurt.
Oh,
like
so
they attack
each other?
Yeah, it's so scary.
All right, 2 more questions that are kind of jokey questions. So, number 1, explain to the group what the tattoo means on your chest.
Yes.
Because that's iconic too, man. Everyone's gonna know you from that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ram skull, and I got it maybe a year after I joined VOLA, something like that. It's my only tattoo, and it was basically a tattoo that I wanted to bind together everything that had happened for like during those months before, just to kind of get everything in one place and wrap up that chapter.
Interesting.
So it was a bit of maybe a healing experience, or both negative and positive stuff. Sure, just like bringing everything into one bucket and moving on after that. So that was the idea behind it. I have seen some comments being like, "Too bad he's a Satanist" or something like that. Like,
yeah, I can see why. That's hilarious.
But it's nothing like that. There's nothing. Some people think it's something pagan. It's just a personal
symbol.
Exactly. And why did I choose a round skull? It was connected to all those things in one way or another. So it really felt like the center of it. So it felt nice to just kind of put everything in that one place. So far that's the only tattoo I have.
Scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Pain wise, 10 being horrible. Because I have one here.
Okay, yeah.
And it hurt when you got into here. But some of that was on your sternum.
Yeah.
So that had to hurt. Yeah. So what would you rate that pain when you got it?
I would say the tattoo itself was maybe like a 7.
7
at max. But the worst part was when they took the napkin and just washed away some ink and blood. Very, very soft pain. But when they do that, it feels like sandpaper.
Yeah.
And
how long did it take? Was it a couple days, a couple hours? Because it seems pretty big. So.
It was 3 sessions. 2 full days, like 6 hours each, and then 1 half day. 15 hours in total. But it was funny, like sometimes some spots where you tattoo. I'm very skinny, so like there's just some spots just skin and bone. Feel like the vibrations in the bone. And
your collarbone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And some spots, like if you was tattooing here, my right leg would spasm.
That's hilarious.
It was like, "Are you okay?"
Yep. Awesome. And last question. We can edit this out if you want to, but where are you with dating? Like, how does that affect touring, and does it, if at all?
So I have a fiance. If that's the right word
Yep,
for it.
that's great.
From France. Also a musician.
Okay.
So
What instrument?
vocalist.
Vocalist.
Yeah, so we work together sometimes, and yeah, she has like full understanding of touring, of being away on tour. We support each other in that, so that's cool. That feels very good. And yeah, she's from France, so I'm learning French,
Ooh.
like you with the Korean.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Has it been hard so far? Or?
Actually, pretty smooth. She's been teaching me very well, and now I can get by in French. But I have to keep it going, like you said, so you don't forget it. But I like it. I like learning languages.
So how many do you know now? Because you obviously know English. So.
Yeah, so English, Swedish. My mom is Polish, so I know Polish as well.
Wow.
We're playing a venue in New York called Warsaw, so maybe there's some
Polish
Polish-speaking
people
people
there.
there. And now French. Also. But since it's a Latin language, it has a lot in common with Spanish and Italian. So there's like some words and sentences. Yeah, so I can understand both Italian and Spanish a bit more now, thanks to the French. Which is I don't know if it's like that with Korean and other Asian languages.
Japanese and Korean are very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, for English speakers,
Yeah.
Korean and Japanese are the hardest languages to learn.
Oh, really?
And vice versa for them.
Okay. Yeah.
They're like we have subject, verb, object,
Yeah.
and the way they do it in Korean and Japanese is subject, object, verb.
Oh.
So like I find myself waiting to the end of the sentence to find
Yeah.
out what the hell they did.
Yeah.
Everything else is like filler, and then for them it's obviously different.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's really hard, but yeah, Latin languages are kind of basic. So you can hear I can interessante. I'm like I know that's interesting.
Exactly.
Very easy. So. All right, well that'll wrap us up. Thank you. And tonight I'm gonna enjoy this dude playing a bunch of songs and kicking some ass. So peace out from Captain Morgan's channel.
Cheers.
True love.